The Summoned is quite the fun little genre treat. I didn't know what to expect going in and had a really good time with it. Now, you both are no strangers to this genre, but what was it about this film that really caught your interest in wanting to be a part of it?
You want to go ahead and take that one?
Sure. So there were 5 of us producers all involved from the beginning, kind of every key area of production. Director, I produced and acted in it. The writer's a producer, the cinematographer is a producer, and the editor's a producer. And we kind of decided it was like August of 2020 and everyone was in it, going through it. And we kind of decided that we wanted to do something with our lack of work and anxiety and, existential dread. And so we worked together to kind of figure out how we could make something during the time. So the film really came out of all of us thinking about okay, we want to keep it really, really small, pre-vaccine. So we wanted to be really mindful of very few people on set, keeping it contained to one location. We wanted to work mostly with people we knew just because there was some risk involved, before vaccines, and we wanted to respect everyone's health. And so we kind of chicken and egged the resources we had in Texas and the locations we found with story ideas that we found exciting and Yuri and
it was very a collaborative in terms of taking things that we were throwing at him, and it was just yes, and he took the ball and ran with it. So it was really wonderful in that regard. A very collaborative sort of project.
So Mark,
sorry.
Oh no, go right ahead.
Oh, it's just a little bit of a different process. Usually there's a script first and then you create the thing. We decided we wanted to make something and kind of developed the script as the project was coming together. And it was a really cool process.
So how did the decision then come about for Mark, for you to make your directorial debut with this one?
That's a great question. I've been, working in the industry for quite a while, and my business primarily has been working with actors and teaching and coaching and the audition space, and then also on-set coaching. So for me, it's always been a desire to head towards directing. And when the pandemic hit, obviously there's those things where you evaluate yourself and you're like, well, this is something that I've been meaning to do for quite some time. So that was me pushing the ball forward on that. It's been amazing. I obviously have a film background from acting, but I also went to film school at UT Austin. Well versed in it, just never really made the leap. And so it's nice to be on the other side of that now and be like, oh, okay, I'm there. But it was great.
So how was it then for you when you were starting to put this together? I mean, it probably helped that you had such a collaborative team, but I mean, what was that like for you finally making that leap?
Absolutely. No, it was wonderful to have the team together because they had worked a lot in the digital space before. And having the producers on the project also having an editor, having a cinematographer and a screenwriter who worked together before really put you in good hands in terms of the process. A bad dog here. So that was wonderful. And then in terms of coming to Texas, where I'm originally from a producing standpoint, the resources that we had here were really wonderful. We did have less than ideal shooting circumstances. I don't know if you remember in February of 2021, Texas was hit with the worst winter storm they'd had in a century.
Yeah.
That happened on day 5 of shooting for us. So I like to say, I don't know without the preparation that we all put into this, if we would have come out where we are right now, but I think it's a testament to our team.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. I honestly had forgotten about that storm and I had family out there who lived through it. That's wild. So you both have mentioned a little bit about the locations of this film, and I think it's pretty amazing just how that location works so well for the story. What was it like for you both really, working with the scouts to find the right spot for where this should take place?
In true indie filmmaking, we are the scouts. It was wonderful. I think, it's for me, I had grown up in this area, and, I knew that there were these wonderful homes on Lake Texoma, which is, borders between Oklahoma and Texas on the Red River. And our editor, in the process of putting together our creative deck, had found a picture of this house. And so, several different pictures that were out there, but this one was like, we saw it and we go, there's something about this house in particular that we really like. And so Angela and I was like, let's go find it. So we were driving around and we basically did the legwork of finding this house, finding the owner, going about the process, and sort of bugging them until they said yes.
Well, you're right. That's true indie fashion right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So with a film like this, where it does have such a small cast, one of the things that really helps carry it is a great rapport between cast members. And so, Angela, since you were more in front of the camera, I'm curious what that was like for you, building that chemistry and rapport with everybody before each scene.
Yeah, it was really great. So Emma, who plays Lynn, and I have worked together for years, and Yuri wrote the parts for the two of us. So that was an easy language that was already there. And then Freddie, who played Frost, is a phenomenal theater actor who I've worked with in Los Angeles for a long time and watched him on stage for years. And so he and I knew each other. And so kind of the new gentlemen to the bunch were Q, our lead, and Sal, who plays Joe. And they're both just such lovely, friendly people that, we got on set and Mark led a couple of really great rehearsals of like the big ensemble scene so that we got a chance to kind of work the dynamics and feel it out. And we did rehearsals ahead of time on Zoom.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. But it was like thankfully, that was the big thing. We were like, as we were putting this together, we're like, okay, like everyone's safety, like it's going to be a really small team. It's going to be key that everyone likes each other and gets along together because we're going to, quarantine everyone. And thankfully, everyone was really cool. In fact, like one of my favorite stories is Sal, who plays Joe. He was wrapped a little bit early, but he stayed longer. He's like a nearly professional chef, and he made the cast and crew this like gorgeous gourmet meal after he had wrapped, just to kind of hang and I don't know, spoil us.
We had wonderful people in
Yeah.
this project.
Yeah, we got really lucky.
The actors, and they're just such professionals. I think it was like we had a couple of rehearsals, like you said, but it was off to the races really fast, and we really got to play while we were on set.
That's amazing. That's exactly what you want from your cast. So that's awesome. So then what would you say, outside of the weather, of course, what would you say were some of the biggest creative challenges for you both in this project?
That is a great question. The weather weirdly created other logistical problems too, in terms of, and I don't want to like say it's not the weather, but it kind of was the weather, just created other problems because we had already shot 5 days. And when that winter storm came through, it sort of had a domino effect. And we had to essentially rewrite some scenes because of locations that we couldn't really,
it was on call every day. Like, all right, what do I need to do? He'd be like in there.
And so, we were coming up, there's a story of like, I wrapped Emma. Yeah. And then the next day I go, Emma, I have an idea for a scene would you mind
unwrapping?
Unwrapping. And she had thought she was wrapped already, so I we pull her out of bed, and we the scene that I'm mentioning is used quite frequently in the film too. So it was
throw her in a pile of dirt.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did it, but at the same time, there were those little creative challenges throughout, opportunities really because of that.
But when snow melts really fast, it becomes mud, and then you have mud piles, and then you're like up at 5 a.m. scraping mud off of C-stands so that you can like move the gear inside and you don't damage the beautiful floors. So it's just like a lot of.
Yeah. Were there any other creative challenges that you? I think COVID creates creative challenges as well, just because like even in the process of shooting, you're trying to front load your exterior scenes. And so sometimes it's certain scenes that you'd want to shoot first, just from a like get it in your body, and these kind of like sort of ensemble sequences, you can't do those first, so you're left with some challenges related to that.
Yeah, and we couldn't really have any PAs on set just for the COVID of it all. So they would be like in their cars outside, like running errands for us, which was very lovely. Yeah, a lot of logistical things with the COVID and a storm.
Oh, that also sounds pretty par for an indie course. But you pulled it off. You pulled it off very well. And since you do mention the throwing the dirt scene, I think I love the look of this film, especially in those hallucinatory sequences. So since you worked with the cinematographer before, what was it like really finding the right look for this film?
Actually, this was the first time that Justin and I had worked together. But it was a lovely process because we started talking about films that we both liked, and there's specifically this film Demon, and I'm blanking on it. It's Austrian, or he's since passed away, but it's a foreign film, and it has this lovely look, and we kind of have this little throwback feel to the film with some of the color palette. And so talking about that and talking about this house that we mentioned before that has this amazing symmetry throughout it, and sort of how to bring that out. Justin and I had just great conversations related to that, and doing a lot of shot listing beforehand, just so that we could be prepared. And then of course, when you get on set, you keep what you keep, and then you go and you be creative with the rest of it. But yeah, the look of this film is something I'm really proud of. We also utilized vintage lenses, like from Soviet era. So it was really, they'd been rehoused and whatnot. So I really do love the look of this. I think Justin did an amazing job with it.
I could certainly feel that vintage look in a lot of scenes. So that's cool that you got to actually use vintage technology for that.
And it's kind of one of those things, I think, with some of the cinema cameras out currently, like you can get such a digital look so fast. It's almost like you have to put something on top of that to sort of get rid of that. So that was a big conversation that Justin and I had early on, between that and using some filters like glimmer glass and things like that.
So you mentioned Demon as an inspiration for your look, but did you both have any other inspirations for your film and your role as a whole?
Oh, for me? Gosh. That's a good question. You go first. I got to think about it.
I think like overall, I think because it was so collaborative, we sort of talk about like, you have this script the script you have, the what you shoot and then what you edit. And there were definitely things in terms of, when we were sort of responding to the challenges, the opportunities, and then in the edit as well, we started to see things where it was like, oh, like what a film nerd thing to say, but like, I love Tarkovsky, and so I'm like looking at it going like, oh, well, maybe we can do some like, bridge these gaps with some dream sequences that may be really fun for us and sort of work within it. So things like that. But as far as a specific film, Demon was more for the look and for the, like, it did have folklore within it as well. I thought that was something really fun that we found in the music as well. Brian Satterwhite, who's an amazing composer, he sort of layered on this sort of almost fairy tale-like quality in the music, which was lovely as well. Some of these things I think we just found throughout, and just being open to them as we went. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I got really lucky because Yuri and I write together a lot and have for years, and we know each other really well as collaborators. So he just wrote me the most fun character he could, I think, and it felt like a real treat to get to play her.
Yeah, you did. I mean,
it's fun.
I'm partial, but yeah.
You might have a little bias.
Yeah.
But you're right though. Your character is an absolute treat. And I think Mark, your direction on this film is great. Everybody on this film's awesome, and I really can't wait to spread the word about it. And that's all the questions I really had, guys. So thank you both so much for taking the time to chat.
Really appreciate it.
It's really fun talking with you.
Absolutely. It was great talking with you both, and hopefully people like it just as much as I do. I think genre fans certainly will.